Hello, and welcome to FadeIn, a production of Carnegie Screenwriters. I'm C.S. Wyatt, your host for this episode. Tonight we're going to be talking about Parallels the Film, a joint production of Arts for Autism and Evolve Coaching. Our guests tonight include Jim LeDoux, a 30-year veteran of the film and television industry. He is a Pittsburgh-based director of photography who also serves on the board of Arts for Autism Foundation of Pittsburgh. Jim shadowed the cinematography department on the Arts for Autism and Evolve Coaching collaboration, the film Parallels. We also have Bobby Roma. Bobby Roma is an autistic artist and photographic artist, filmmaker, writer, and he worked on Parallels as the assistant director, first AD.
Yes.
Sorry, first assistant director, it's important. And Jared Braun. Jared attended the Joey Travolta Film Camp after graduating high school in 2016. He soon began pursuing other educational programs in the field of film production, taking classes from Pittsburgh filmmakers for the past year. Jared directed the short film The Nightfly and is now directing Parallels the Film. Jared has also done camera work at local events, including the Edgewood Self-Health Fair. And now, let's take a look at Parallels.
I'm ordering pizza. What do you want?
Pepperoni, please.
No, you don't feel jealous? Not even a little bit?
No, Mom says Ray's always going to be fine.
I worry about him a lot. I sometimes think just, how's he gonna do this? How's he gonna take care of himself?
Hello?
Hello, Wendy?
Yeah. Who is this?
This is Rick Mortimer from your 915 chemistry class.
Oh, no way. Hi, Rick. What's up?
Okay if I ask you something?
Yeah, of course.
Well, this weekend they're showing Galactic Express 1 and 2 back to back in the movie theaters. Do you want to see it with me?
And other times, just like, he's got this, he's got it all figured out.
And now let's discuss Parallels the Film with its director, Jared Braun, first assistant director, Bobby Roma, and the mentor behind all of this, Jim LeDoux. Jared, what was it like directing your first short film for Arts for Autism?
It wasn't nerve-wracking as like a lot of people would say. It was more of a matter of learning how everything plays out on a film set, really, because this was the first time I've had to work with large departments of different tasks. So you have your camera department, your art department who set up the sets, and your lighting department who handles the lights. And it was a matter of learning about how these learning how not to interfere with any roles and how different these roles are in terms of activity. Certain people will be working on the set and they'll be in this constant state of alert and focusedness. So they got to be there for every single moment, make sure everything is approved or make sure everything plays out. And then you have a lot of people who are there and they're focused, they're ready to keep going, they're ready to do what they have to do, if they have to set up lights, if they have to adjust for lighting, if they have to adjust for sound. And you'll have those people kind of just waiting in some certain location, waiting to do what they have to do, and that was, and you can't really interfere in that process, and that process can't be interrupted in any way once you begin developing it.
And one of the most important support roles on a set is the first assistant director.
Yes.
And what was your relationship like with the first assistant director, who happens to be sitting next to you?
It was, it was. I'm not gonna lie. It was a little stressful at first. It was having that person who can keep you going, keep pushing you forward, and you try not to make him mad, or you try not to get him too, worked up. And but it was great because we got everything done on the deadline, on the schedule, which was and that's great about having an AD that can do that for you.
Oh, absolutely. And Bobby, now you were first assistant director on Parallels.
Yes.
Was this your first time on set as an assistant director?
No, I actually did my master's in film and photography, but it had been a long time since I'd done that, and they'd mostly been small independent productions, so this was probably had a little bit more involved because we worked on a much smaller scale, very small budget, so a lot of time.
And as first AD, did you oversee the function of line producer on this set?
Yes, and the great thing is Jared was a really good director. It wasn't that difficult. I know he was a little bit stressed about, but it worked out really well. We had a really good team. We had people who worked really well together. The kids were great. They all pitched in. We had really great actors, and they were willing to give up their time for us, so we're really grateful for that. So being first AD was a lot of fun. It was hard, but it was fun.
And Jim, can you talk about this experience of bringing together autistic individuals to create something as a team that a lot of people assume autistic individuals might not be able to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me start by just giving you a brief chronology of how this film even came into being. So the Arts for Autism Foundation of Pittsburgh, in cooperation with Evolve Coaching, has been running the Joey Travolta Film Camp, a 2-week film camp in the summer for young kids on the spectrum for 7 years now. So naturally after 7 years, there's been a number of young kids, or now young adults, that have matriculated out of the program. So for the past 2 years, we have started a 4th classroom, or an adjunct classroom, where some of those young adults now have come back and taken working roles, had the opportunity to mentor at film camp, to take different levels of responsibility. So along with that mentoring, there has been a continuing film education. This past year, we tasked them with writing an original script, and it was pretty profound to see how that came into being. I can say that the initial concept was Jared's, but in every way, this script is a collective experience of this group of 12 or 14 young adults who all sort of weighed in and said, well, yeah, I've experienced this, I've felt this way a little bit. So it became very important to us to see this film get made.
Jared, could you talk about what this film is to you as someone who attended the Joey Travolta Film Camp, and to see this now come to fruition?
I think it's a great learning opportunity for everybody who worked on it, for one, and it'll help people see how those on the spectrum handle various daily situations more realistically, in a sense. There in the past have been some negative stigmas about how certain people with certain disabilities handle various situations, and this film, I feel, is more down to earth and more realistic to the topic at hand.
Can you tell us a little bit about the film?
It's about two brothers who go through, you get a day in their life, you get a glimpse of how their days go about. They'll go through different situations, maybe such as like interacting with others, handling awkward situations, mostly social communication type of situations, but they're based off of a lot of real life experiences and anxiety. Either I or a member on the team or have somebody we've known in real life have felt in that situation and contributed to the development of the plot.
And Bobby, as first AD, did you find yourself mentoring these young people as both a role model and as someone with experience in filmmaking?
I hope. I would like to do that, and I'm very glad that that this film shows that things are getting better too, and that his experiences are not the same as my experiences as an older person. So it's very different now than it was when I was growing up.
And do you believe the film spoke to that difference?
I think that it definitely shows that things are getting better, and the more films that are made and the more things that are done and projects like this, if we can keep this going and actually get this built into something, I think it could be a wonderful thing for the next generation. And I want to be a part of that and help them to do the things that weren't probably possible for my generation. So that would be an incredible thing to do.
And Jim, when you were mentoring the camera operators and other individuals on the set, did you find that they were gaining confidence and career skills that might help them outside of the film set and the film crew?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we took the approach with this film that we wanted this to be an opportunity for these young adults to find their voice, to really make this film be their vision. That's why we sort of set up this notion of shadow roles. So we had incredible instructors in PJ Gaynor and Tim Papsiak, and Ruth Howes was along as a clinician for the workshops that led up to the film. But I think there was definitely a sense that if we, as a group of professionals, are able to the best of our ability, stand back and let this group of young filmmakers shine, that we're going to end up with something that's greater, I think, than the sum of the parts.
Jared, could you talk a little bit about the casting? Because these are individuals asked to play an autistic role. How important was the experiences of the actors and what they brought to the roles they played?
Not every role had somebody on the spectrum, but a majority of the cast, including extras, were on the spectrum, and this was a great experience for them because they've a lot of the individuals who were on the spectrum and took part in the filming came from the film camp, and they got to see a more hands-on and more serious approach to how these situations are filmed and how the actual development of the film goes. When it came to casting,
can you tell us who are the leads?
I don't remember the
Joe
last name.
Nath is our.
I'm sorry, I'm not
And he's
the
on the
best with
spectrum.
name. Joe Nath is our lead actor, and he is on the spectrum. He's been to the film camp before, and he provided. We had originally done some test shooting at the camp in 2017. We had looked over a lot of auditions, and we had several from the film camp, and I looked over them, and I was actually impressed with him. He was very natural with it. He was able to act. If you need him to act a little more serious or you need him to act a little more laid back, he was able to provide that, and he brought his own personality into it while still maintaining something that it was natural, but then it could also be controlled in an acting situation, and he really knocked it out of the park.
And I see nodding in agreement from the first AD and the shadow director of photography. What do you think of the casting process and the on-screen performances? I see you nodding, so you must have really enjoyed what you saw.
I did. I thought that that Joe was really wonderful. Sam played his brother Ray. He was really wonderful too. And what was really good is even though most of the people weren't, the ones that weren't, like Sam is not an experienced actor, so we were able to get new talent, new people on there along with the spectrum, so that there was kind of that intertwining relationship between being on the spectrum and also understanding it as far as being a filmmaker or being a person who is actually a character within these kinds of productions.
And Jim, building this bridge between the industry and autistic individuals, a lot of that is that intermingling and that experience of appreciating the differences. As a director of photography, you're well aware of the difficulties of setting up a set, getting the shot just right, and the patience required. How did you work with the actors to get them used to the fact that you have to stand around and wait, position yourselves, and things that are sometimes difficult for an autistic individual?
Yeah, you know, I think we had some mature actors on set as well who had a tremendous amount of experience, and they really, I think, also took on a role in some ways of being shadows in their own right. Amy Lynn played a counselor for us, and she had tremendous patience. It was our first couple of shoot days, big shoot days. She had tremendous patience with both of our leads to sort of help guide them to give their best performances and to put them in a position where they were really able to shine. So there's no doubt we could not have done this without the incredible support of the actors in and around Pittsburgh.
And Jared, do you plan on pursuing a career in filmmaking?
Yes. I love film development, film production, and working in a number of different fields in the art is what I enjoy doing. I'm glad to have been able to direct this. I was never aiming to be a director by trade, but if the opportunity comes by again, I'd be more than glad to do it again in the opportunity. But I also enjoy doing camera work and editing, post-production wise, and I hope to pursue it as a career. Yes.
And Bobby, you are a photographer and a filmmaker.
Yes.
And you have experience doing this. Did you find yourself mentoring young people who hope to have careers in film and photography?
I hope. We're always hoping that this is something that that they can take along with for the whole life, and that they can accomplish a lot more, with their lives than even I've had the opportunities to do. I'm not saying that I'm dumb, but there's a lot of things that hopefully that this can give them, not just like we're talking about life skills and things, working in a professional environment, also being able to be very flexible. So you could be DP, you could be director, you could be assistant director or assistant photographer. So you have lots of different abilities. And that's what we're aiming for, so that no matter where they are, they can bridge and fit into that industry.
And Jared, what's the most interesting thing you learned about filmmaking from this process?
Through filmmaking in general, or through?
And through this particular film, the Parallels Film Project.
Well, through in general, I feel like it gives you kind of like an excuse to learn as much as you can. It gives you that excuse to learn everything. You don't just study film. It helps to learn a lot about history and learn a lot about different cultures, because it helps give you an idea of how things would play out if you wanted to shoot something that was very natural. Through this experience, directing Parallels, it's like one of the best things I could take away from it is learning how to better cooperate with people on these sets, because I've never had to work on such a large scale set before. A lot of work I've done has been mostly minor, with maybe a couple actors, and usually handling everything myself as a one-man operation. But how you operate and work and communicate with people through these projects, I took a lot in thanks to this opportunity directing Parallels.
And Jim, you've worked with autistic individuals for a few years now.
I have indeed.
And this had to be a big project to undertake with an autistic team.
Absolutely. Again, many of these young adults had gone through the film program with the Joe Travolta Film Camp, so they had some experience on what it looked like to be on set. I know that Arts for Autism Foundation Evolve Coaching, we look at the film set as being this perfect opportunity, a perfect place to develop socialization skills, to collaborate, to bash heads creatively. And I think the one thing that I got out of this, maybe more than anything else, is that I know this group of people, they think in ways that perhaps I'm unable to. The notion of being on a film set where you have a dialogue with somebody that's verbal, but where you also have visual dialogue about things, I think it really speaks to the skill set and the beautiful minds of the group of people who are involved in this project.
And Bobby, at what point are we in the post-production process now for Parallels?
Since we've wonderfully finished the film and we're thankful to have everybody, we are in the process of doing the editing, which is going to be done over a period because we also want to include the fourth class and Joey Travolta, which is something that I'm sure Jim will be able to talk more about. And we're hopefully going to begin another project soon, I'm hoping, so that there's further opportunities for them.
And I know you've been working on the crowdfunding effort to finish the film. As someone overseeing the budget and everything, that's difficult for all independent filmmakers, but was it a particular challenge for this project?
Yes, we had a very small budget, and everyone pitched in. I have to say that it is much the family members and the crew and the assistants and whoever came in there gave everything, you know. I mean, everyone donated something in there, you know. There's bits of my plant, there's some of other people's things in there, you know. So everybody kind of pitched in. So, you know, we were able to work with a nominal budget, which is what independent filmmakers have to do. And we're very thankful for those people and the fact that they would give us their time and, you know, whatever we needed. You know, people brought shirts, they brought clothes for people, and T-shirts were designed, and posters were designed, and we had kids who were doing that too. So we were able to delegate things so that other kids had opportunities too, that maybe they weren't exclusively part of the production, you know, but there were other people who we could involve as many people as possible.
And Jim, we just heard about possible future projects. Will you be involved in those?
Yeah, I think that Arts for Autism and Evolve is really looking at this film as maybe proof of concept for what might be an expanded program that gives adults with disabilities opportunities that they might not get. I think that our goal is not specifically to churn out filmmakers. Our goal is to give anyone who has a voice and has a vision and wants the opportunity to share that, we're looking to give them that opportunity.
And Jared, you went to the Joey Travolta Film School, the film camp, and that's slowly being expanded. Would you encourage other autistic individuals to pursue the Joey Travolta Film Camp and other opportunities?
Yes. In fact, I've been talking with an advisor named John Ulosis of the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. They have an office just downtown, a couple blocks from here, and I've been talking with him about going to a couple of the schools that he works with, Woodland Hills Junior Senior High School, Propel East in North Braddock, to perhaps go in and talk with some of the students interested in pursuing filming and sharing some of my experiences. When I was first working with them, and they had no real experience with placing students in the film production as a possible career. They've mostly been working with trades and more college-based work, such as the sciences and not so much the arts. And since 2016, when I had joined, the number for them has doubled, and I'm hoping to help out in any way I can.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Jared. You have been watching the Carnegie Screenwriters production of FadeIn. We have been joined by Jim LeDoux, Bobby Roma, and Jared Braun, the production team behind Parallels the Film, a joint production of Arts for Autism and Evolve Coaching. I'm CS Wyatt. Thank you for watching.